Hi everybody, you're with Got That Funk, and this is a video response to Immattoneil and his video's drama. Hello Matt. I'm sorry to have heard all the things that you talked about in those videos. That's all really harsh stuff, and I have to say I have much respect for you because it was really brave of you to put all that out there. This video you're watching is also going to be a little bit personal, and just like yourself, I'm not fishing for compliments or sympathy or a pat on the back or anything else. I considered actually making this video private just to you, Matt, because it really is directed solely at you. However, it occurs to me that other people might benefit from some of the things I've got to say here as well, so I decided to make it public. Okay, now I have a point to make at the end, but I have a kind of a roundabout way I want to make it just to make sure that it packs the punch where it should. Um, Anyone who knows me for any length of time, Matt, will tell you that I'm the type of person who always tries to find the bright way of looking at things. There's not always a bright side to everything, but there's usually a better way to look at things than the way one might tempt to do if one lets insecurity be their lens or whatever else. Now, it's perfectly understandable and natural for you to feel really, really upset. You must be going through an awful lot of anguish when you consider the issues of everything you've discussed in your video, the mistakes you feel you've made, um, the idea of your kids growing up not really knowing you very well, etc., etc. Man, it really hurts just to hear it. Really hurts. I can't imagine if hearing it hurts as much as it hurts, how much it must hurt for you. And I'm saying this now because I'm about to tell you something which might, from an outsider's point of view, sound like I'm trying to rub it in at first, but I'm not. Like I said, I've got a point to make at the end. But in order to make the point at the end, I have to make the point at the beginning. And here it comes. I'm really, really lucky. Um, I've got two beautiful kids. My daughter's the eldest of the two, and I have raised them up their whole life, and more than half of their lives, I was a single parent. Um, and I'm really, really, really lucky because I know my kids, and my kids know me. If I died tomorrow, I can say for absolutely certain that no one on earth knows me better than my children. No one. And that makes me feel like $1,000,000. That makes me feel like my life's been worth living. Now, again, I'm not saying any of this to rub it in. I want to make a point, okay? It's just going to take a minute. Um, when I was a little boy, like a toddler, my parents split up, and when I was a little bit over 4, I guess, my mom started seeing the man who would eventually become my stepdad. And when they got engaged, it was put to me that I would no longer be seeing my real father anymore, who I didn't see very often. I mean, I saw him infrequently for about a year after my parents split up. He would visit maybe once or twice a month, um, and take us out to the park and whatever else, and blah blah blah. But I mean, I didn't really know him very well when I stopped being able to see him. I was only 4. And when my mom and my stepdad got married, um, it was told to my sister and myself, my sister's the younger of the two, um, that we wouldn't be hearing from our father anymore, our real father, or ever seeing him again, ever. Not even at Christmas or birthdays were we allowed to receive phone calls or cards or anything. Although his parents, my grandparents, were still allowed to send cards for birthdays and Christmas and whatever. But even that, my stepdad begrudged, but he went along with it because he felt that there's no point in punishing them. We were the only grandchildren that she had. So anyway, um, and while I was growing up, obviously I did have a pretty nasty grudge against my stepdad because he wouldn't let me talk to or hear from or know anything about my real father. Um, but what I didn't fully appreciate when I was really little, but became more and more obvious to me as I grew up, was I was just as angry, or more angry even, at my mother for going along with it in the first place. Now, I mean, I recognize, in fairness to my mom, times were different then. We're talking about the 1960s when this was kicking off, and back in the 60s, it was just a done thing. women got the kids. If they remarried, kids had a new dad. That's, more or less in general how it was expected to be. So, I do try to cut a little bit of slack, but at the same time, I really didn't understand. Even at the age of 6, I couldn't understand. I just thought it was a bit harsh that I couldn't even get a phone call or a birthday card or anything. It seemed really excessive and unnecessary. And the chip in my shoulder because of it, um, I'm absolutely sure was partly responsible for me getting into some of my rebellious situations as an adolescent. I held a really big grudge about it. Anyway, um, but because I grew up and I didn't know my real father, I was absolutely adamant and determined that when I got married and had kids, that my kids would know me. And Matt, that's exactly what's happened. Okay, because when I was with my first missus, I went on and I told her the story I just told you about, and not knowing my real father when I was growing up and stuff, and how wrong I thought it was, and how I blamed both my parents for it, most especially my mom. And I explained to her that, I wouldn't ever, ever try to take the kids away from her if we split up, and I would expect the same in return because she knew how important it was to me to know my kids and for my kids to know me. So when the time came that we split up, she wanted to have custody, or so she said. And I said no. I said, if she was going to leave me for another guy. I said, look, if you're not going to kick me out of my own house and move someone into my own bed. No. I said, if you want to leave, leave. I'm staying here. So she left. And, you know, I know for a fact because she's told my kids this subsequently in the intervening years between then and now. But the whole thing, the reason she went along with it was because she didn't think I'd be successful as a single parent. She thought I would fail and that I'd have to go, oh, I can't handle this. Take the kids, take the kids. After which point I would have been kicked out of this country and so on. But she let me have the kids on the promise that I wouldn't drag them back to America. And I did have several family members in America who wanted to fund me to do just exactly that. But I'm a man of conscience, and I believe what I believe. And I believe that if it's at all possible for kids to know both their parents, they should. So that's the reason I've stayed in this country all this time. Anyway, my point here that I'm finally getting to is you have to look at the big picture, Matt. Even if your daughter and son, whose names I adore, by the way, but even if your kids don't get to know you as well as you might like them to, and as well as they might like to, the story isn't over today. It's not over next year or next in 10 years. It's not even over when they turn 18. When I turned 18, I was allowed to see my real father again and to contact him. And, we have created a relationship, I suppose, despite there being thousands of miles between us. It could be an awful lot better. And I think we both have some share of responsibility in letting the other one down when it comes to all that. It's hard to know where to start when you're growing up and there's all sorts of unanswered questions and whatever. But the point is, I know my dad on my own terms, and I've only know him though on a man-to-man level. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. I look at my stepdad and I, and all the baggage that exists between us, and maybe it's a good thing that I don't have similar baggage with my real father. So I just beg you to release yourself from some of the anguish that I know you must be feeling about this. Try to step back from it and realize that this is a drama that is still being played out. The story is not over, and in fact, it is not going to be over. Even if you're lucky enough someday that your kids have kids of their own, that's when the story starts all over again, both for them and for you. All right, so keep that in mind. This has Got That Funk. I hope this helps, Matt. Peace.